Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Daryl here, Sweet Hot Rods and Honey, and we're going to attempt to put the engine and transmission back together, which we have already, and we're going to try to set it in the onto the frame to see if we've got to cut out any of the firewall. But before I do that, I wasn't sure if I was going to run air conditioning or not, and I'm still not positive. But I got the compressor cleaned up and put on the block, and I looked at the belt, and it was pretty bad. So it's got a lot of cracks. So I thought, well, I'm just going to buy another one, which I did, and it's a Continental. Part number 4040377, and it will work just fine. So I'm going to put that on, and I'm just going to let it freewheel. I don't have any lines, or I don't intend to hook up any air conditioner lines until well after I get the car finished, or the truck finished, 51 Ford. But I just wanted to put these on, and just so the compressor's on, and make sure that the compressor and the engine are going to fit on the frame. So let's go ahead and do that. So this is a, as I said, it's a 4-rib belt, and it was like 37 bucks, which I was shocked at the price, but nothing's cheap anymore. And so the way this goes on, I had to take off the main serpentine belt, which is in pretty good shape. It's not cracked at all, and this is the one that came on the engine when I bought it. But I do want to get this other one changed over, and I'm going to need let me get this out of the way. I'm going to need an Allen, or actually looks like it's a, is it a 1/2-inch drive? I just have to put in there. No, it's a 3/8, and I have a 3/8. Let's see, it looks like it goes on like so. Tighten it up. Get around the pulleys. Come on now. Oh, I'm on the wrong side of the belt. Belt's got to go above it. The smooth part of the belt rides on the tensioner. And it's still just not easy to do. Oh, there it goes. All right, that's not bad. All right, looks like everything's lined up. Not so bad. All right, let's get the main serpentine back on. And it went like so. That's lined up, everything's in the correct grooves. Done. Okay, that's not too bad. Now the fun begins. Let me show you what we have here. So I noticed that this knock sensor wire got caught in the chain when I was raising the engine and ripped it out of this socket. And I'll have to try to repair that. I think I can get that apart and then re-crimp. But yeah, I goofed that up. But anyway, we got the transmission on, and the torque converter and flex plate, they're all good. I put the torque converter on the transmission first and got all clicks. It's all seated correctly. And then I put the flex plate on the engine using thread locker. Any spinning, rotating parts on the engine should put thread lock or something to lock the bolts in place so that they don't back out. And then when we mated the two surfaces, the transmission with the engine, I also used thread locker on the 3 bolts that bolt through the flex plate onto the torque converter. So that's all set. We torqued down all those bolts to 74 foot-pounds, and put on all the bolts around the bell housing. And I believe we're ready to try to set the engine down and see how it looks right there. We may be getting the Sawzall out or the angle grinder and chop out some. So keep your fingers crossed. I hope not, but if it happens, it happens. Okay, so here it goes. We'll keep our fingers crossed. And just raise this thing up another few inches. I have a floor jack ready back so that we can put it underneath the bottom of the end of the transmission. And this is significantly heavier than just pulling the engine up. Okay. Oops. Let's get this. Around the engine, what's that? Walk to the left side. Alright, now we'll get lined up. Oh yeah, adjust the weight clearance on the bottom cross member. Alright. Look good so far. It's very close. I've got to get this, because this engine is cocked over to the passenger side, I've got to get this mount up over top of that mount. And engine's got to go back some more. So let's try to ease this back just a bit more. I should not have let this angle at a cocked angle. Win some, you lose some. I've got to pull the engine back out and cock it level. Poor work for myself. deed goes unpunished. I don't mind doing it, but there's just more opportunity to mess something up when I do things multiple times. Okay. Alright, let me set this thing down and level the engine side to side. Phew. Few blocks in there. Down if I go on the driver's side. Easy does it. We're really close. Actually, there we is back to that. We're really close. Really. Back in, that's okay. Hate to get my hands in here, but might be able to slide this, lay the engine right over top of this mount. Just a little bit of help. I need it. Need an inch there. How's this look? Oh, about the same. Gonna come over this way a little bit. We're right on top of the mount here. Let me drop it down just a hair. Just a little bit more. Alright, I got this one. This motor mount is hooked in. Now we just need to raise the engine. We're ever so close. Really close. I might have to grind out. Let me show you back in the back here. So there we are on the tunnel, and it looks like I could chop out maybe a ½ inch to an inch. This is about how much more we have to lift this motor mount, another ½ inch, and then it's made. We've got clearance from the air conditioner, compressor. We've got clearance there. So I think I'm going to get the angle grinder and cut out this upper lip. Just a small dome, ever so slightly. Well, we have enough room now. It's not pretty, but I want to make sure that it fits. We're going to be pulling the motor back out, and then we'll do some cleanup. And then I'll probably have to modify the things. Look fine here. Yeah, I'll have to clean up some. But let's get this motor mount made, and then I think we'll be able to drop this engine down a little bit. It's, I don't know about the angle right now. It's tilted pretty much, but I don't know that we're gonna be able to change too much of that. So, I'm just glad nothing broke or busted. Well, after taking all the tension off of the engine hoist, take it all the way off. It is, yeah, so there's nothing on there. So the frame of the truck is resting on top of the engine hoist. We have clearance at the valve covers. And looking at what we just cut out, it may not have been necessary. We got clearance on the rack and pinion. And let's see what's, yeah, I did not have to cut that out, but I couldn't get the motor mount on without doing that. So, yeah. Next thing is to measure the angle of the engine. I've read or heard that ideally it's like, 3 degrees back, higher in the front, lower in the back. And this motor is, but I just don't know what that angle is. So I don't have a scale to measure that angle. I can use my phone, which is a kind of a coarse measurement, and I can get the angle that way. So let me do that and I'll let you know. So I took a measurement using this bubble level, and it gives an angle. And what I measured was 98 degrees, so it is tilted back about 8 degrees, which is maybe more than it should be. Now thinking about what I've done, remember when I put in this motor mount, I lifted it up just slightly. Well, I think what I need is the opposite. It should have been down slightly. I'm not going to touch that anymore. What we could do is jack up and have the mount for the transmission in the back just a little bit higher. And but again, this is it's a coarse measurement using this bubble level on my phone, and it's just not 100% accurate. But what I see so far looks good to me. I've got clearances where I need them, and transmission fits. It's not a big deal that I cut out too much on the on this tunnel. I'll just make a patch there, and that gets covered up by carpeting anyway, so it's not a problem. And I had to do some patchwork on the cover originally anyway, so it's just going to be another patch up the top. No big deal. So looking at the angle from afar, doesn't look too bad. And I really wanted to get the engine in to check out the clearances. Now I've got to jack up. I got to get a jack stand back here. I'll put it back behind the transmission. I'll get my floor jack and jack up the frame so I can pull the hoist out of here and see how the angle of the frame sits, and also double check the angle of the engine. All right, front end is free. It's setting on its suspension, and I remeasured across the valley at that point, and it was 98.2, so it's about 8 degrees tilted back. And clearances were fine. We've got just about an inch clearance on at that lip. I don't know how the cover's going to work out with that little bump up on the tranny, but yeah, let me measure this. Oh, this is now lower. Actually, that pin is just a little bit too low for safety. Yeah, let me get a tape measure and see what they are. So the clearance on the transmission pan to the ground is 6 inches. Oil pan to ground is 4 inches. And the cross member for the suspension, let me see what that is. Let me measure that real quick. That is about 5.5, roughly. So we got 1.5 inches of oil pan hanging down. I don't really want to raise the truck. The idea was to have a low riding truck. And let me see, I'm going to measure at each one of these side rails. So that's we're about 7. The rear one is 7. So it's level. And that's kind of what I wanted. Maybe with the fuel tank in the back and some fuel in it, it's going to drop that back just a little bit. Not a tremendous amount, but we're going to have equal amount of loading with fenders and hood, the front end, and then the box in the back plus fuel. Doors got to go in. So it's going to drop even just a slight bit more. But yeah, I don't know. I'm going to wait and see how things look in the end. I got to be pulling the engine back out anyway right now, and just thinking about that new, another oil pan. I don't know. We'll see. But what I should do, while I do have the engine in is I might put in this transmission mount, since we know how far back the mount's going to be, so I can do that. It's starting to get late now, and it's almost dinner time, so I'm going to take a break and we'll get back to it later. Good morning. Different day, same project. So today we're going to continue on with the engine in place, and I'm going to get the transmission cross member mounted. And I forgot to mention when I was closing up yesterday is that I can do a lot of things with this engine in place, like put the steering column in, the brake master cylinder, and a lot of other things that kind of work around this engine. So for now, let's work on this transmission cross member. So the transmission cross member I've got mounted on the mounting plate to it, and we've got to do a little bit of cutting and welding. These plates are going to be attached to the vertical part of the frame, and so they'll be cutting what we need width-wise. These will get welded, and then we'll bolt these through bolts onto the frame so that this cross member can be removed. This mount pad is by Energy Suspension, and they're good. I've used those in the past, and they're pretty good. So what I've got to do is measure underneath the center line where these mounts will be side to side on the frame, and then we'll be able to trim this frame down, or this cross member down to the appropriate size. So, and one note, I looked closer at the bubble level measurements that I took, and they are not as far off as I expected. 8 degrees or thereabouts was not the right number. The second number that was to the right, which I think was maybe 5 degrees, or whatever it was listed, is more accurate. What the 98 point whatever was measuring was not the level of the measurement, but how, like the plane of the other dimension of the other plane of the phone. So forget about that one. What we have is a better measurement than I expected. So I'll try to illustrate that in a picture, or at least note it. So I goofed up. I wasn't clear what was being measured there. So sorry about that. Let's continue on. Well, I got the end plates welded onto the transmission cross member and mounted up to the bottom of the transmission. So now I'll have to, it's a triangular, there's 3 holes per side on these mounts. So I think I'm gonna probably get a tap and die and use 5/16 inch bolts and just tap into the sides of this plate. So that should hold everything up. So I'm going to leave that in there after I put the bolts in. So then we can measure for the new drive shaft, and then also measure up where steering column and the master brake cylinder is going to line up. And there's a few other things that we'll be able to work around
maybe a little bit of exhaust, and that should be it. I should be able to get in some more, well, wiring is going to go on the sides of the frames, and then also the brake lines are going to come back within the driver's side of the inside of this frame. Let's see what else. I guess that's about it for now.
Overall, I think things are turning out okay. I like the way the engine's setting in there, and I remeasured the angle, and it's about 5 degrees. So I can work with that. That's very reasonable. And I'm gonna work on putting this cover. That's not a high priority, but we can get the pinion angle set up now that we know 5 degrees of engine tilt. So that should be somewhere between 0 degrees and 5 degrees. So I don't know if it's going to be exactly the same, but it's also, so the engine is tilted this way, and that's how that pinion's got to be tilted as well. So I'll have to figure that out more, and then after we know that angle, I'll have to weld in these brackets for the on the housing of the rear end. So I think that's it for this video. I'm going to continue on with those other items that I talked about, brakes and steering column, and I'll have a separate video of that. So just want to say thanks, and I appreciate all your support. If you haven't already done so, please hit the like and the subscribe button. We're still shooting for 600 by the end of March, and we're real close now. So thanks again, and we'll see you on the next video. See ya.